Well, good morning, everybody. It's 8 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. First thing is minutes. Did you get a chance to read the minutes?
This is Dean. I'll motion.
Second.
Motion by Dane, second by Cynthia. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right. Anna, finances.
All right. Good morning. Just a quick recap of the May finances, and you'll kind of see as we go through, I've started to include 2019 comparisons because 2020 comparisons aren't going to be too accurate right now. One other item to note, at next month's board meeting in July, we will have the first reading of the 2022 budget as well. So we take a look at the employments. Actually, our employments were doing way better than what we actually forecasted. We're 11,000 over what we forecasted. For a total. If we sit and take a look at the breakout for it, the first thing that comes to mind to show is Delta was pretty steady and on our forecast from January through March. April, they started picking up a little bit, and then in May is when Delta had lifted the seating restrictions. And so there you can see that our employments really did shoot up from April till May over 1,100 passengers. So it was nice to see that passengers took advantage of those extra seats. As far as allegiance on the bottom, we're still forecasting higher than our employments were actually higher than forecasted, even though now in May our Phoenix Mesa flights have ended for the summer, so they will not pick back up until fall. But our Vegas is still going really strong. Actual landings, Delta's holding really tight to exactly what they told us for their landings. Allegiance is as well. For May, it says we were 3 over. That included 1 diversion. So Allegiance was actually 2 over what they were actually estimating. So just a moment for our overall operating. Right now, we are sitting better than expected for this point of the year. Our net revenue is at $35,000. We technically had budgeted a negative $184,000 because usually the first 6 months of the year we are operating in the red. But as we go through, you will see why our net revenue is sitting at $35,000. Just to take a look, if we break it out month by month, the first 2 months of the year we were operating in the red. However, for March, April, and May, we have been above 4. So that is nice to see. It just means that everything is coming back a little faster than what we had expected and even had forecasted for. Our revenue versus budget. I know this is a little clustered looking, and I'm sorry for that. But the gray is the 2019. And the dark blue is the current. So we're catching up to where we were in 2019, which is good to see. And we know that our 2020 revenue, which is in orange, that's going to change a little bit. So that's why I started to include 2019, so we have a better comparison of where our revenue actually is. Keep in mind that the big spike that you see like in April, that's because we were estimating for CARES Act dollars now, which is going to be CARES dollars going forward. However, on the far right side, you're going to see that we've only used 71,000 of CARES Act or CARES dollars at this point. We initially estimated to be about 225,000 to have used. So nice to see that we're not using those monies as quick as we had expected. The restaurant commissions, that's also nice to see. Overall, on the left, the 2019 is in the dark navy color. 2020 is in the light blue, 2021 is in the green. So you'll see that we're pretty much even as where we were in 2020 last year at this time. We're pretty close to even. However, a little ways off from 2021. But if you take a look on the right side where we break it out month by month, you can see that a restaurant commissions are increasing or have leveled off a little bit. So hopefully as the year goes on, our commissions will come back up to the restaurant, which I don't see it being an issue since our employments are coming up. Our rentals is also a nice surprise. Again, the navy is 2019, the green is 2021. So you'll see in looking for May, we're almost at the same commissions in May for car rentals as we were in 2019. The parking lot revenue, it's lower than 2019. We're still down about 20% versus last year, 55% from 2019. But we are higher than what we budgeted for. So that's the plus in all of this, is that what we budgeted for, we have exceeded or met our budget every month for parking. And this is just a breakdown of the car count. I'm not going to go into details, but the car count between April and May this year was only down 200. But we also have to keep in mind we lost the Phoenix Mesa Road too. So the fuel flowage for UND and Athlete has been great. As I said, the top left here is UND. So dark blue is 2019, the green is 2021. So for April and May, our fuel flowage has exceeded where we were 2 years ago. But keep in mind the fuel flowage rates have changed slightly as well. Fuel flowage for Athlete, still slightly less than 2019, but increasing steadily each month. And on the bottom, we are exceeding our budget. We're exceeding the 2019 and 2020 numbers. So that's good to see. But as I think Ryan has mentioned in previous board meetings, UND Aerospace is at capacity. So I don't expect anything but higher numbers as the year goes on. This is just Athlete fuel report. I know some are interested in these middle numbers here with the gallons. So fuel flowage for Athlete, just to know, which is nice to see. Athlete versus last year at this time is up 101%, and fuel flowage overall is up 6% versus last year. So things are starting to come back for us, and that is great to see. We take a look at our expenses. Our expenses are under budget. And I guess the only big reasons for that, major reasons, are advertising. Just because we really haven't ramped up our advertising yet, it's something we are thinking that come the third and fourth quarter, we are really going to be spending the advertising dollars. Our salaries are less, our utilities are less, our benefits are less. And if you honestly take a look at every line item in our expenses in the operating budget, you will see that every single one is below budget. And almost every line item in our revenue is above budget. So therefore, that is why we are operating at $35,000 profit at this time of the year instead of a negative. Are there any questions about the board reports or where we're sitting for the month of May?
Any questions for Tana? Thank you, Tana. Appreciate the report. Mr. Director.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. At some risk here, I'm going to try something. We've got a special visitor with us today from afar. We'll see how the connection is. Can you hear us, Joey?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. I don't know if you can say where you're at, but we do. I didn't even know myself that you were going to be dialing in this morning, so I just wanted to say hello. As we mentioned a couple months ago, Joey's on deployment. Looks a little dry behind you.
Can you see me?
I can. We can. You're being broadcast, Joey.
So good afternoon from Agadez, Niger. It's currently 106 degrees, and I'm currently at fire station number 1 at Agadez, Niger. I don't know what you can see.
Yeah, it's a little broken, but we can see you periodically. Hear you okay, though. You'd have to mute the phone.
So I just wanted to call and
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to call and say hello. So yeah, everything's going well. We arrived not long ago. Everything's been going very well. We're going to be here for a little while. So
yeah, very good. Well, good to see you, Joey. Take care. You're certainly welcome to stay on the call.
I'll call again and check in with you guys again next month. How does that sound?
All right, very good. Thanks, Joey. No modern technology.
Thank you,
how do you like that? You bet. He's on an extended deployment, and wanted to say hello. I didn't know until about 5 minutes before the meeting that he was actually dialed in. But anyhow, moving on, just a few items. I just wanted to provide an official update. I know I provided the information to the board and others, but I'm very happy to report that as of the end of last month, we do have all of the land parcels with signed purchase agreements, and we are working to be closing on those properties on August 15th. So that is continuing to advance. Did want to mention relative to the statistics that Tana was reporting, just add one other piece. Brad, if you could pull up the that page of the load factors for me. Tana mentioned in the financials that we did see Delta's numbers improving. And when you look at the load factors, we include these stats in the board packet every month. Is there a possible way to rotate that? Maybe not. Well, it is in the board packet if you have that up. It's near the back. But the key item to note is that if you look at the load factor in May of 2021 for Delta, it was 73.6% of the seats filled. And that's up significantly from around 50% of the seats filled in the previous months. That's primarily, as Tana mentioned, because Delta removed the restriction of the 75% capacity. And so that's a very positive number to see. Starting May 1, when they removed that restriction, we were filling those seats. And so that's what's going to help us going forward to justify additional seats, additional flights, etc. So that's a positive number. If you go back all the way through COVID, we never were above 55%. 55.6 was the best when Delta removed that restriction, it was 73.6. So just something to watch as we go forward in the months ahead. Just wanted to highlight that particular piece. Also wanted to report just 2 days ago, we learned the amount that we will be receiving for the airport rescue grant. That was one that back at our board work session, if you recall, in March, that was pretty fresh legislation at that time. It had passed on March 11th. We didn't know the specific amount of our allocation until just a couple of days ago. And we will be receiving $1,969,936 for airport operations expenses, and another $100,646 for concessionaire relief. And this particular program is very similar to the CRISA grant. If you recall, the CARES Act grant funding was very unrestricted in what those funds could be used for. CRISA was a little more restrictive, and this particular program is essentially identical to CRISA. And so earlier this year, we did make the change of using CRISA grant dollars for operational expenses. And you're all may recall the program that we have in place moving forward with our CARES Act grant funding for equipment, customs building, T hangars, etc. We're still advancing all those programs and using the CRISA funds for operational expenses as needed. This new program, the number that we just learned the other day for the airport rescue grants, we envision using similarly to the CRISA grant funding, and we have until September 30th of 2024 to utilize those funds. So we are reviewing all of this. As Tana also mentioned, we're preparing the 2022 budget, and we anticipate having a first reading of that budget at our board meeting next month, where we'll go into a little more detail on the financials of how we intend to use some of these funds within the parameters of those programs. So any questions on the airport rescue grant program? Okay, hearing none. Couple of housekeeping items. I did send out an email. Our administrative assistant, Melissa Rader, did accept a new position. She lives in the Lakota area, and as Commissioner Peach would know, that can be a drive from time to time. Melissa was doing an excellent job for us. However, she did find a job that was closer to home for her and her family. And so her last day was actually last week, Wednesday, after a 2-week notice. We did put out an advertisement, and we've conducted now 5 interviews, I believe. And those are progressing well. The deadline for applications and submissions was yesterday. We are lining up a couple more potential interviews, and then we'll be advancing that forward as well. So just wanted to make you aware of that. In the meantime, we're all kind of stepping up in various roles to accomplish the things that need to be done in the office. And I would note that Brad Wheeler, our intern, has been stepping in as well and doing a great job. So thank you for that, Brad. Chair Mellon was reappointed by the County Commission for a 5-year appointment to the Airport Authority Board. Chair has been doing an excellent job for us. He's very well involved with our projects, has made trips to Washington, D.C. In support of our overall airfield development program. So we were very happy to hear that from the county, and welcome back, I guess.
Thank you.
And lastly, we are having our first annual GFK Invitational Golf Outing tomorrow morning. We have 52 individuals signed up, and we're going to get it off the ground and hopefully make it a strong annual event. We've had some great support from some sponsors as well. Mead and Hunt, Cameron, Olson and Larson, Allegiant stepped up with a voucher as a prize, and also a friend of the airport, Doug Norby, and Norby Work Perks donated some for some prizes as well. So happy to see that. The response has been very positive. We've got teams from UND Aerospace, the Air Traffic Control Tower, consultants, various other tenants as well. And so we're hoping for some good weather and a fun time tomorrow. But that is the report that I have for today.
All right. Any questions for Ron? Not much for Chairman's report. I do appreciate all those that worked on getting that land done. It's amazing that that could be put together and done that fast. It just doesn't happen. So whether it was the engineers or Mr. Dittis and the staff, it's amazing to get that done. So I appreciate the work that was done there. And let's go on to new business.
All right, very good. First item of new business is Mead and Hunt Task Order number 5 for the design of runway 9er left, 27 right, and the taxiway Bravo extension and reconstruction. So we are ready to complete the design for this project, and we are anticipating funding from the FAA for these projects. We certainly want to be prepared and have the overall design ready if and when we receive word that we do receive discretionary and or additional supplemental funding from the FAA. We did include various attachments for this task order in the packet. The total cost of the services is $827,637.08. This is eligible for 100% federal participation due to the coronavirus legislation for 2021 grants. And the project was included in our 2021 capital budget. We would need to complete an independent fee estimate for this work. I did want to note a couple items from the task order. Brad, if you can go to page 2 of 4 in the task order, it's in the packet. There's a down in the small chart there. There you go. You can see the timeline that's been proposed and presented for this work, with the October 1st date for preliminary design, and then also February 1st of 2022 for the final design. And then note the comment on the side there. The completion dates shown will be contingent upon the FAA funding. FAA is attempting to secure a supplemental grant in 2021 for us. The grant would be for the intersection work of the 2 runways. And if that grant is, if we're made aware of that grant in a timely manner, we would then potentially need to shift design efforts to the project that would, certainly it all applies to this design, but the focus would then become the intersection, particularly. The intersection is included in this overall design. And Brad, if you can go to that schematic. There you go. Thank you. Visuals are always nice for these sorts of things. So the orange area there in the bullseye, if you will, of the intersection of the two runways and also the intersection of 35 left and taxiway Bravo. That's what we're referring to when we say the intersection work. And that area is particularly important because when we do work in that area, we do not have a runway long enough for larger aircraft during that period of time. So we have to coordinate that with the airlines, other operators, well in advance, preferably at least a year in advance. And what happens is the airlines will then not schedule flights for that period of time. We're hoping to minimize that time, potentially just a couple of weekends for weekend type work, but that's the concept. That'll be fleshed out through this design process. This design work, though, will also include the blue shaded areas on this schematic as well. The darker shaded blue to the left, or which would be the west, are the areas to be extended, and the lighter blue are the existing pavements that need to be completely reconstructed. The other thing that this design work will do is properly phase this work so that we can minimize impacts to users as well. I don't know if you had anything else to add to that, Mr. Seinhorst? Okay, very good. You know, I will say too that it's very exciting. Again, another positive step to be moving this forward. And I do recommend a motion to approve the Mead and Hunt Task Order number 5 in the amount of $827,637.08 for design of runway 9 left, 27 right, and taxiway Bravo extension and reconstruction. And we also need to authorize the executive director to execute the required documents.
We got a motion to go forward on task order number 5.
Mr. Chair, I would so move.
Moved by Cynthia.
This is Steve. I'll second.
Second by Steve. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have task order 5. Next item.
Next item is Mead and Hunt Task Order number 6. I need to get to the proper page here. Okay, next step, again, with the purchase agreements for the land, we will need to complete some wetland mitigation on the newly acquired land, and task order number 6 addresses that with a not to exceed amount of $26,044.62. And it's, you see the scope of services for this project to verify the existing wetland bank and verify the credits available. Ultimately, what happens in this case is we have to mitigate 18 acres of land and 17. Okay, it's slight adjustment, but we have to mitigate that by purchasing wetland credits in an approved wetland bank. And there's some process and formalities that we need to work through to be able to accomplish that. Again, the amount is eligible for 100% federal funding as part of our 2021 federal grant, and it's a budgeted amount in our 2021 capital budget. The motion then, or recommendation, is a motion to approve Mead and Hunt Task Order number 6 for wetland mitigation assistance for a not to exceed amount of $26,044.62, and then authorize the executive director to execute the required documents.
Right, do we have a motion for task order number 6?
It's Steve. I'll make a motion.
Motion by Steve.
This is Dane. I'll second.
Second by Dane. Any further discussion? Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? All right. Next item.
And just a side note on the last item, I wanted to mention as well that the actual amount of the purchase of the wetland credits will come back to the board at a future date for approval. So this is just the assistance to get it all set up and ready. So, okay, the next item is the Oakwell's concessionaire lease agreement. They currently provide food service, vending, and gift services in the terminal building, and that agreement expires June 30th of 2021, later this month. We did discuss this earlier this year, and given the challenges over the last year and the fact that Oakwell's has done an excellent job for us, not only over the last year, but previously, that we believed it would be appropriate to extend the current agreement. And after some discussion, we further believe that the only effective change would be to extend the term. There are other provisions, such as the airport purchasing the equipment, and that actually makes sense in our case because in the future, if we were to bid out for those services or whatever, then we already have the equipment available. That's per the agreement that's been in place since the terminal was constructed back in 2011. We were in coordination with Mr. Mike Riley from Oakwell's, also worked with legal counsel Mr. Dittis on this, and we agreed that an extension of 3 years to June 30th of 2024 was appropriate. The amendment is quite straightforward, we believe, because all we're really doing, again, is extending the term. All other conditions remain the same. And so the recommendation is a motion to approve amendment number 3 to the Oakwell's food service vending and gift shop concession agreement and authorization for the executive director to execute the required documents.
We have a motion to extend the Oakwell agreement, lease agreement.
I would move approval.
Okay, motion by Cynthia.
Steve, I'll second.
Second by Steve. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right. Any other business to bring before the board this morning?
I have no further business for the board. Maybe just a reminder that next month we'll have first reading of the budget, which so we'll get into the finances maybe a little more heavily, not only projected finances, I guess, and how we're envisioning some of these things going forward. Well, maybe a little bit of a longer meeting next month for that. But otherwise, nothing else for this meeting.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.